Good morning, everyone. Not sure where Jules is, so I'm gonna say good morning and happy Friday! Yay! I think
Morning.
How are you? Wow, now can everybody hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah, good morning.
Oh, it might work if I plug my dang thing into my computer. Happy Friday, guys. I don't know where Jules is.
Sleeping in, maybe. Anyway.
That came through good, I'm glad.
Good morning. Today is Friday, and July 19th? No, 18th.
Yes.
And this is Before the First Cup with Lady Pitbull and Zori on UCY.TV. Good morning.
Good morning. Jules should be joining us here any minute. I'm sure she's like, what does Jimmy say? Running down the stairs. Pink fuzzy slippers and coffee. She'll be like, oh no, it's 9:04 like she did the other day. But that's okay. Poor Jules. She worked so hard, Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that's all right.
She drove home last night, right?
Huh?
And she drove home late last night?
Yeah. I think so.
Oh, well, we're here. So how's your Friday starting out?
Really, really good. I'm getting really excited for my friends from England, the Subhumans coming. I'm sorry I keep bragging about it, but I'm just so damn tickled.
Hey, it's exciting when you see friends you haven't seen in a long time or whatever.
It's true, and I really haven't seen them for a few years, so I get totally excited.
I do too. Or like when friends pop in that you haven't seen for 3 or 4 years, they just pop in, you're just like, wow.
Oh, I know.
Makes your heart smile.
It does. It really does. I came home last night, from my self-defense class, and there was this note on the door, and it says, "You are loved."
And with no name or nothing?
No, it just had a little heart and a smiley face on it, like some little kid wrote it. So I think it was the teenagers next door that wrote that and just stuck it on there. It was pretty cool. I thought my best friend did it, but no.
A secret admirer?
No, it was. You could tell it was like little girl handwriting. You know what I mean? You can just tell that bubble letter thing when you're a teenager. You're writing bubble letters or whatever.
Yeah. Well, maybe. You never know.
I certainly doubt that. But it's nice. It was a really nice sentiment, and it totally, uplifted my spirits just to get, a random note on the door, Especially it said that, because it was funny, because when I picked it up, I'm like, I bet you it says you suck. I said that to myself, and then it was the total opposite, so that was pretty cool.
Did you see Florida's at it again? Now they have this dress code on all streets and everything against saggy pants. This might seem not such a big deal, but first it was the bathing suits on the boardwalk. Now you can't wear baggy pants. What's next? We let them get away with these little things, and before long they're going to be telling you have to wear a dress whenever you're in public, or this is a big thing, I think. And I don't think that city government, any kind of government, should be able to tell you how to dress as long as you know you're covered.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as you're not running around naked, it's fine, right?
Right, because, so you don't like, to see these young people in baggy pants. Well, you know what? Our parents didn't like seeing us in leather jackets and this and that. But
exactly.
We don't survive it. And, for them, and then what is this going to do? It's going to cause more confrontations between police and citizens.
Yes.
You want less involvement there, and then you can even go to jail for up to 180 days.
Well, it's also a crappy way for the city to generate more revenue. I mean, come on already. It's freaking like I don't know, George Orwell's 1984, total police state.
And I can just see it now. Some kid getting beaten up because some cop is trying to tell him how to dress.
Yep. Well, it does. It creates conflict amongst.
And that's what we need, huh?
That's the last thing we need. You know?
Another way for the police to stop your freedom of travel, you know, to address you because of the way you dress.
Well, really, honestly, it's not the cops that made this law. It's the freaking local city. So, I mean, but it is though. It's
happened.
You're right. It is just another way that it creates friction, which is definitely the last thing we need. It's just like
made a big deal about the boardwalk and people wearing bathing suits on a beach. You know, that they accepted that, so now it's a baggy pants. So
right, and I think that's exactly what we were saying when we were talking about the bathing suits. The first time around, you know, they're just going to keep escalating and add more stuff on. Just like over here in the city of Brighton, you can't swear on the street. You know what I mean? It's the same principle. So,
right. I remember when I was in high school, we had a dress code, and we actually they were called Athenas, and they would come around and measure your skirt and make sure that it was it couldn't be above 3 inches above the knee. And if it was, you got sent to the dean's office. You know, things like this escalate, and they escalate rather quickly.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. It's true because once it's accepted, just like you're saying, with the small stuff, that's when they start rolling out the big stuff.
Yep. So, you know, if I was in Florida, if I lived in that community, I think I would be up in arms because it's just not right. Just because you don't like the way somebody dresses. And this is just saggies. I mean, you know, and then they say anything below 3 inches below the regular waistline. But if you're wearing a long shirt, that would still apply, I would think. And so what? They're going to make you lift your shirt, and they're going to be, measuring with a measuring tape. Stop, I got to measure, you know, what you're wearing. It's just, I think it's going to cause a lot of problems, especially with young people that are, you know, they're already trying to get their independence and all, and this is just another form of that. And then the cops come up and confront you. I just see bad problems with it.
Well, sure. I mean, and where specifically is the city?
This is in, how do you say that? Ocala, Florida.
Ocala, Florida. I used to live in Florida, so I'm pretty familiar with Florida. So Ocala, that's interesting.
And that's anywhere on public streets, sidewalks, like the courthouse or any of that, parks, sports events, anything like that. As long as you're on, you know, public streets. Now, I don't think they can do anything in your yard, but that's probably about it.
Well, if you live downtown, you know what I mean? I mean, you could probably just say, hey, we have domain over your pants.
I know. Yeah, over what you wear.
I don't know. Some of these city council people are freaking crazy.
Yeah.
God, we're dealing with them here.
And now here in California, what a conflict. We kind of hit on it yesterday, but, you know, now we have the water cops going around, you know, and then you get a ticket because your lawn's brown, but then you'll get a ticket if you water your lawn.
Right.
Exactly,
and I think they're trying to get the UN in on that deal too out there.
In California?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I did. I mean, you can put it in the search engine. It's out there, floating out somewhere. UN to deal with water drought situation in California. Put that in the search engine.
Now, figure the water we're using up now because that fire is still going. It's already taken over 10,000 acres. And it's only 40% contained. Now,
they get that out.
We have a little moisture today, so that's going to help a lot. Yesterday was high humidity. Today's going to be high humidity. So that's going to help some. But look at all the water that they are using for that.
Yeah, I read somewhere that a pot grower started a fire.
Well, okay, it could have been anybody. It had nothing to do with his growing, and he was a legal grower. But yeah, his car got stuck, and in the process of trying to get out, it you know what, from the exhaust or something, it sparked the fire. And being as dry and brittle as everything is, it took up 100 acres a minute the first couple minutes. So it could have been anyone in a car.
I hope they didn't charge him.
I don't know yet. They haven't said anything, but it was accidental. They know that. But yeah, they made a big deal out of the fact that he was a marijuana grower.
Oh,
the fact that he's a marijuana grower had nothing to do with the actual starting of the fire. It could have happened to anybody that got stuck.
That's good to clarify that, because you know what the headlines are. Pot grower starts fire. You know what I mean? That's what the headline was. I'm just like going, yeah, right. I mean, really, you don't need heat if you're growing outdoors anyway, except for the sun.
And it showed the sheriff standing out by this pot field. You know,
oh God, are you serious?
Yeah, our sheriff really is against marijuana, period. Like before, when it passed at one of them Tea Party meetings, I even asked him. I said, "Well, how are you gonna enforce this? I mean, are you gonna go by the law or what?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm against marijuana completely, but it's the law, so I will abide by it." But that's bull.
So hold it. That sheriff posed for a picture next to this guy's farm, right?
Yeah, like he's looking at the pot farm, because they were.
So this fire's in your county, right?
Oh yeah, it's just right up the road from me, about a half hour away.
Whoa.
Not even that.
If it gets crazy, could it get to your house?
No, I don't think so. They're starting to get it pretty well in control with the fire breaks and all. I mean, they have 2,200 firemen on this, 100 and something fire engines, and I think 80 or something big bulldozers and 4 tankers.
You must live in a huge county if it's like a half hour wide.
Oh, it's big. Up here, Shasta and Siskiyou County. Siskiyou County is about the largest county in California other than San Bernardino.
Wow, that's pretty decent.
It's big, yeah. There's mountains all around. You know,
on.
So, but this fire, and a lot of it is in terrain where there's no roads.
Oh, so that's a bad deal. Jeez.
Yeah, it looks ugly up there, and I have a couple friends that live up there, and it was going right for their house. They were all packed and ready, but then the wind changed and went the other way. Hopefully it continues that way.
My God, how scary is that? That's scary.
I think 8 homes have been destroyed so far.
Jeez.
So, and they have evacuations. And in fact, they just had another evacuation Tuesday and Wednesday. So, yeah, it's, I mean, you know, up here, no water for years, you know, and the drought. And then another thing, and it got brought up at the meeting, at the council meeting too, was it's a tinderbox, and the aluminum is an igniter.
It's an accelerant.
Yes, and everything is covered with it. And the fire, they're saying it's burning so hot, it's hard for the firemen to get in there. And I think we've had 14 firemen injured.
Oh my God! I bet you this guy feels terrible.
It's muggy. Today it's really yucky because it's already hot and it's already humid, which is good. But man, it's stifling. We're not used to humidity.
How hot is it?
It's in the 80s.
Oh,
I don't know what humidity is, but you can sure feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes you can cut it with a knife, man.
Well, hopefully it helps them bring this in, you know, rein this fire in. Last I heard yesterday afternoon, it was 40% contained. So, but there for a while, it was moving so fast. I mean, 1,000 acres, you know, in less than a day.
See, that aluminum does act as an accelerant.
Yeah.
I mean, there's your proof right there.
And even the fire chief, he came into the meeting and he was explaining that when the fire started, that guy got to see something most people don't, because he goes, it just like exploded. And then within the first few minutes, it took almost 1,000 acres. It just like, boom, you know, and then it was busy for a few days, so they got their jobs cut out for them.
Could you imagine that poor guy? I just keep thinking about the poor hippie guy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, and then homes were lost and all.
Yeah.
Now, I don't see how they could charge him. I really don't, because it was.
I mean, if he's behind the wheel, you know, he's trying to get his car started or whatever, his truck or whatever, and then, like, a backfire happens, and then, boosh! Oh, my God. And there's nothing he could do. You just, what can you do? You sit there and watch it.
Our last big fire up here was started, and there was no one was allowed to mow their lawns or anything. And this one guy, he went out there and started up his mower, his rideable mower, and this other neighbor said, you know, you can't do that right now because of the fire hazard. And he started a fire, and he did get charged because he knew he wasn't supposed to be doing that.
Well, especially after somebody says, hey, don't do that, and comes up to you, and you still do it anyway? Well, then
and he said to her, like, hey, it's my lawn, I'll do what I want. So that,
I hope his house went up first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on.
And there were quite a few homes that time. But this fire, I think it's very wrong if they charge him, you know, because he had a right to be where he was.
That's right.
And he was doing it legally, and so it was just a freak. You know, it could have happened to anybody. So
absolutely.
Yeah. There's been no charges now, so I doubt if there will be. But, yeah, it's not good. Now it's smoky out. Everything has that orange look to it.
Oh, I bet you that's creepy at the sunset time.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. You should get out there and take pictures or video of it with your new camera.
Yeah, I might. You know, I've been in fires I grew up in Big Bear, and it's a mountains down south, and we had a fire. It took over 55,000 acres, and we were at the top, and it was surrounding us, and it's a really eerie feeling when you know you can't. We went down anyway. We went right through the flames and all, because we had dog to the vet. But, yeah.
I mean, you would think that they would shut the road down if you were going through the flames.
They try, but, you know, if you live there, there's always ways. But, yeah, it's scary. It really is.
Dang.
A helpless feeling, you know. And I feel for all these people that have been evacuated, and they won't know until, you know, they're allowed back in if they have a home to go to or not.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend driving through the flames again.
It's not, you know, fast enough. Usually on the pavement, you can usually do okay, and you know, unless a tree falls on you or something.
Shit. That's not a good deal.
In a few fires, and it's spooky, but it's not as scary as like a big flood, a wall of water coming at you or something.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I know I always get around. I go, because I live at one of the biggest dams in California, and I just go, I better get a big surfboard because it's supposed to be like a tidal wave if it ever breaks.
Oh my gosh!
Just shut it down because of security, because the door was found open, and they're real tight on security there. So right now you can't go to the dam.
Oh.
They're investigating how did that door get left open or opened. So.
Yikes, man.
Yeah, that's, you know, when I really think about it, I think, well, maybe I should move.
Do you think?
if that was to break, it's 365 square miles of shoreline.
You'd be dead.
Yeah, it would be they say the wave would go all the way to Sacramento.
Wow.
Which is
are you serious? That's like some hellish terrain.
It would just come right down the road and. Yeah.
How far are you away from that dam?
20 minutes, maybe.
Wow.
5 minutes. Not in a good place here, it seems.
My goodness. You better pray for no earthquakes.
Oh, it's earthquake. It's earthquake proof. I mean, this is
not like anything above an 8. I mean, if you had an 8.
I still think it would hold. I do. The structure of that dam is really.
There's no way.
Yeah, things do survive, but I mean, because this is California, they build things to, withstand that.
Yeah, but I mean, even the best.
That's pretty big earthquakes, and it hasn't affected the dam at all.
Well, I mean, that's cool. I mean, little tiny ones like 3s and 2s and stuff. No, it's not going to do anything.
No, we've had 6s and let's see, it's been a long time, but we've had a 7 up this way before.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Is that the strongest you ever had?
I think so. Well, up this way, yeah, but not down south. I mean, down south, when the Esplanade collapsed onto the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Big one. I forget, 8 something. But, yeah, and that was back in 1980, I think. Was the last real big one we had here.
They got that whole thing rebuilt and opened up now.
Oh, yeah, it's been useful, too. That was horrible watching those people that were stuck in there.
Oh, my gosh. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, I recorded the whole thing. It's somewhere in my video library.
Wait, you busted your camera out when the earthquake was happening?
No. I recorded it off the TV, the news, the
VHS. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, back in them days.
Yeah.
Natural disasters are really scary, and now the fact that they can create them, when they want,
and make them stronger.
Mm-hmm. So.
Yep, that's not so good.
So anyway, we're hoping that they'll get it pretty well contained today. And it's supposed to be another humid day tomorrow, so...
Right on.
In their favor. Yeah. I mean, you go by the fairgrounds over here, and it's like... all you see are all these tents, and, because that's where they put them all up. And fighting that fire and then coming back to not air conditioning, but a tent. I really respect those guys.
Yeah, that's jeez, that's baking.
Mm-hmm.
Poor guys.
And a lot of prison help, inmate help.
Well, that's good for that, though. I mean, you know what I mean? I think that's actually a good thing.
And people call the firemen heroes, that they are, but also the inmates, they aren't getting paid, and they are down there.
Oh, no, that's pure slave labor right there.
Right. Now, you're forced into being a hero.
Well, yeah, I saw kind of an endearing thing on, I don't know, I hate admitting that I watch TV, but sometimes I do. However, there was this, I watch the Pitbull shows, you know what I mean? Obviously, but there's one that when this Pitbull rescue was in California, the fire was threatening, like, their property and the dogs and all that, and the prisoners came out and, extinguished the flames and save their property there. And the
last big fire we had here, it almost took our property out there, and we would go out on our quads and drop cigarettes along the way for them. You don't want to get caught, but you can ride your quads down to look at the fire, and we'd just disperse cigarettes and things like that for them. And usually the guards would just look the other way because they're out there fighting fires,
Right. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, they usually don't publicize the fact that there's a lot of inmates out there. But if you live up here and you have fires, they are. Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about what I was talking about with these people's property is that they actually help guys that get out on parole, and they give them jobs
cool.
to help with the Pitbull rescue. And yeah, so that's why it was cool that inmates actually save their property from the fire, because they do so much work for inmates and try to help them and stuff. So that's where it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, the sad part is trying to find a job after you've been put in prison, and most of the time it's for a nonviolent crime that you were in there, and then you're tied, almost forced to go into other crimes because you can't live.
Right. So these guys would give the parolees a job, and they had to see it through, and And, you know, they took care of all the dogs and made sure, you know, they were, you know, so it was pretty cool. You know, reciprocal type stuff.
Yeah, you think about the animals in these fires now. You know, I mean, one couple, they left to go to the store and get some more water and stuff like that, and weren't even gone an hour, and by the time they got back, the road was closed off, and they couldn't get, they had 8 dogs in their house. Myself, I would have went around them and just went, you know, but,
me too.
But, within a couple hours, one of the firemen took them down in there, and the dogs were still okay. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but can you imagine? Oh, man, because that's your family, too.
Oh,
you know, and for someone to say you can't go in there.
Could you imagine? I couldn't even imagine. I can't.
I know what I would do. I would just go around them. There's no stopping me. If some, you know, an animal or a person or somebody I love's there, you're not stopping me. Unless
well, apparently so, if you're going to drive your dog to the vet through flames.
Yep, we did. In a micro hippie bus.
No way. Oh my God, that's almost like a cartoon, you know what I mean? Gee, let's try for it.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you think, I've been in floods where the river was right next to my front door, and I've been through fires, earthquakes, so I'm surprised. I never thought I'd last this long. Yeah.
Amazing. That's amazing.
I know.
All right, we should probably cover some news. We've been
well, that was news sort of for up here.
Oh, absolutely. News from your side of town, absolutely.
So what else is up?
There's all kinds of crap. The plane that crashed, Malaysian airline plane. I mean, what's the deal with these Malaysian airlines? First there was one missing, now there was one that was shot down. What's the deal?
And you know what? They say, you know how they said, oh, well, it's a war zone, you shouldn't be flying there. But that was their normal route, flying.
No. There's some supposition out there that I saw that said the plane was diverted into a no-fly zone. Yeah, so there's that, and I just feel like it very well could be some of the same characters that were responsible for the first flight missing as responsible for this flight getting shot down. I'm just pulling that out of my butt. However, these people...
I'd have to question the tower if they were making me go through a war zone, you know?
Yes, you would definitely question somebody. And I guess somebody was tampering with evidence when it landed and blah, 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 on and on. So
they got the black box, but I haven't heard anything.
George Soros strikes again. I mean, you know what I mean? Him and his ilk, the ones who are funding this whole thing on the backside. Anyway, we can pretty much figure out and pretty much, you know, suppose that these guys were partially, if not...
I'm sure we have our hand in it, you know.
Yeah, that's what I meant, you know.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just getting uglier and uglier by the minute, and, I don't know, Putin very well could just keep his cool and start, you know, get into his new BRICS bank and just say, piss off.
Yeah.
And something else that came out yesterday in relation to all this was Obama put more sanctions yesterday on Russia per executive order without consulting Congress. And here's this on Activist Post here. I think this is very important. You absolutely have to be talking about this. It says, this is from Activist Post again, Obama, executive order, ban sale and importation of AK-47 rifles. This is by Mark Salvo for Activist Post. A new round of sanctions by the United States targets Russia's financial, energy, and defense sectors. An executive order signed on Wednesday, the 17th of July, 2014, by President Barack Obama, is being called evil by Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev. Medvedev and bans, among other things, the sale of all Russian-made AK-47 semi-automatic rifles, Saiga 12 shotguns, and all other firearms and parts manufactured by Kalashnikov Concern, which is the name of the company that manufactures AK-47s. According to the U.S. Treasury Department, Americans will be able to purchase AK-47s in the secondary market as long as Kalashnikov Concern does not have a direct financial interest in the transaction. So, if a U.S. person is in possession of a Kalashnikov Concern product that was bought and fully paid for prior to the date of designation, i.e. the date I just mentioned, and no payment remains due to the Kalashnikov Concern, then the product is not blocked, and OFAC sanctions would not prohibit the U.S. person from keeping or selling the product on the secondary market so long as Kalashnikov Concern has no interest in the transaction. That's according to the U.S. Treasury. So, I'm going to keep going. The Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control released a statement advising concerned U.S. gun owners that while they can still sell existing stocks of AK-47s and other firearms on the importation ban list, new purchases from the Russian-based manufacturers by private or commercial gun interests have been outlawed. According to, here we go, guys. This is what the article says. According to Kurt Nimmo of InfoWars, the president's unilateral move by way of executive order could usher in a new era of gun restrictions across the United States without congressional oversight. The criminalization of an entire line of foreign manufactured firearms is possible under, quote, national emergency powers, unquote, and there is no appeal process. That is scary right there, guys. Last year, President Obama vowed to push forward on gun control with congressional approval, a promise that prompted Americans to clear the retail store shelves of ammunition and drive the price of firearms like AK-47s and AR-15 semi-automatic rifles to double or triple within just a few months. And we all remember what happened to all the ammo too, guys. Don't forget that. Within a week of vowing to act independently of an elected Congress, the Obama administration began exploring methods to completely ban the importation of ammunition, magazines, and gun accessories from international manufacturers. Here we go, guys. This is getting really bad. Earlier this year, during the opening salvos of the Ukrainian conflict, it was believed Obama was implementing a ban on ammunition originating from Russia and Russian-friendly states. Russian manufacturers responded to the rumors by claiming they were not aware of any such restrictions, although it is clear that they were now in the Obama administration sights. Targeting of ammunition through heavy taxation has been a strategy that the anti-gun lobby has tried in states like Illinois. And in November of last year, the U.S. government shut down America's last lead smelting plant because of new EPA regulations, making it nearly impossible for U.S. ammunition manufacturers to source their raw materials from the United States. Here we go, and we can all see where this is going. I mean, this is a clear picture now, and yesterday he pulled the switch with all this, with sanctions now targeting the defense sectors of foreign companies whose governments were friendly to Russia and no ability to produce lead-based ammunition in the U.S., the time is ripe for the Obama administration to circumvent the U.S. Constitution's Second Amendment altogether by taking executive actions under the guise of national security concerns. With the stroke of a pen, President Obama has banned tens of thousands of firearms, Under
And what is it with Congress? Why aren't they doing anything? You know, I mean...
Yeah, let me just get real quick.
Okay.
A couple more here. Under such an approach, the president could effectively target a wide variety of gun-related industries, including the raw material suppliers and parts manufacturers. This could potentially have the effect of not just banning importation of firearms, but making it nearly impossible for U.S.-based manufacturers of firearms, ammunition, and accessories to produce their own products if any of their raw materials are sourced outside of the United States. The Obama meanwhile, the borders are wide open, and we're getting all kinds of stuff from out of the United States. All kinds of people. So this is, the Obama administration has already begun targeting legally operated retail suppliers of firearms by classifying them as high-risk businesses like pornography, which has led to their transaction. I'm glad he mentioned this. Which has led to their transaction processing and bank accounts being shut down by some of America's top banking institutions. Ooh. Yeah, that's a big deal. I remember reading that. The attack against the Second Amendment continues on all fronts, and the end goal is total ownership ban of some 300 million firearms held in possession of law-abiding citizens. That was a good freaking article, guys. That was just... he just basically pulled the switch. He flipped the switch yesterday, is what he did.
Any excuse he can come up with,
right?
You know? This
is the perfect setup. They're setting the stage for complete... And then the confiscation's going to start, because it's all going to be foreign... based foreign. I mean, that was it for the lead smelter. So now all the ammo has to come out in from overseas, and all
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's banned, man.
So this is how they're going to do it. They've already done it. It's done. I mean, it's in motion. There's and the thing is that they've made it so. They've made it so that there is no appeal process. That is what is extremely disturbing to me. That there's no way any of this can get overturned once it's been put in.
Isn't it the only thing that can change that is the next president coming in can either let executive orders go along, or they can retract them, but that's the only way that I know of.
Yeah, the next president, I think, but the next, obviously, we know how everything works, so the next president is definitely not going to be doing that.
Right.
But they could, even though they could.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is very scary, guys. Get ready. It's
coming down fast. It really is.
Yep, and this airliner, they're just going to use that to ramp it up. We got John freaking McCain running around going, "Oh, it's on now! It's on! It's on!"
Yeah.
Time for war.
Yeah, Cheney, and he's come back out, and I see where he was having an interview with Politico, and some activists came out with handcuffs and wanted to arrest him for war crimes.
Good. They should have. They should have done it right there and then.
Yeah, but they ushered them out, of course. Yeah. And the screen went black. And they had video problems, of course. But, yeah.
Man, oh, man. I don't know. My heart's very heavy today. And when I heard that yesterday, I was just like, "Oh my God, here we go! This is it. This is it. Yeah. We're in it. We're in it." And there's no going back. They're making their move. They've, we know now where it's going. Without there's no debating it anymore.
And he's starting all this up, and now he's going on vacation. He does all this, and then goes off on a $12 million golfing vacation. He's planned right.
There was pictures of him in one of those Five Guys hamburger joints. When that plane went down, he went to the Five Guys. I guess he was like, "I'm starving."
I know, and then, he was talking about what a tragedy it was, and then within, a couple of minutes, he was making jokes.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, this is, this is exactly, he's just running around having fun. He's not directing anything.
No, they're telling him what to do, and once you do it, then you go have fun now.
That's right.
So we need you again.
We don't need you right now. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't need you right now.
People that can't see through this, I just feel so sorry for them because, man, they are in for a big jolt.
Yep. The jolt happened yesterday as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the signing of that Kalishnikov thing is, oh boy, that just pulled the trigger on all this stuff, man. I mean, really, you gotta really realize, like, how
far-reaching it is.
This is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I mean, this is it.
Yeah. If you ain't getting prepared, you're a fool.
Yeah. Damn. Oh, and all the illegals, it's like, and all the diseases, and now the guns, here we go. I mean,
yeah.
I don't even know what to say anymore. I mean, really, yeah. And then all the robotic stuff that's waiting for us at the other side of this raging nightmare. Gosh. Oh, my.
So many... I mean, where do you look? I mean, there's so many things coming from so many directions,
At one time, it's multi-pronged, multifaceted. This is something that just kind of like was a quick blurb out there, and I don't think anybody paid attention to this. And I feel like I need to read this for some reason.
For it.
It's kind of long, so I might just, I don't know. But I just wanted to grab this headline because I think it's one of those things that just go out there and then go under the rug real quick before anybody even knows what happened. It says, U.S. is said to plan to send 6 detainees to Uruguay, which is really weird. And it says, and this is July 16th, so a couple days ago. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel has secretly notified Congress that the military intends to transfer 6 low-level Guantanamo Bay detainees to Uruguay as early as next month, according to people with knowledge of the communication. All 6 have been approved for transfer for more than 4 years. Mr. Hagel's formal determination that the transfer would be in the national security interest of the United States breaks a bureaucratic paralysis over a deal that has been waiting for his approval since March, but that stalled amid political uproar over prisoner exchange, which secured the release of Sergeant Bo Bergdahl from insurgents in the Afghanistan war. The 6 detainees bound for Uruguay include a Syrian man who has brought a high-profile court challenge to the Pentagon's procedures for forcibly feeding detainees who are on a hunger strike. His transfer would most likely render that lawsuit moot, and although there are several similar challenges. The United States is grateful to our partner Uruguay for the significant humanitarian gesture. It appreciates the Uruguayan government's generous assistance as the United States continues its efforts to close the detention facility at Guantanamo. Hold on just a second, guys. Oh! Okay. Hang on a second. Hang on a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
How do I do that?
Brandon to come up. Just find him on your list, and then
I don't have him on my list.
Ooh.
Does. Where are your Jules? Brandon wants to come on. Yikes!
Oh, rats. And I can't do it because you're hosting. Or wait, let's see. No, you can friend him.
Oh yeah, I can friend him. So
do that, and then you can bring him in.
All right.
Yeah, he wants to come on and talk about the flight.
So in
Just go add.
Yeah. I know how to do it, but in the box, so we don't like put it out over the airwaves. Could you type in like his contact info, like what I need to be typing in to Skype? So put it in the box instead of putting it on air.
Yeah, I am. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to stop you from doing anything like that. So yeah, just type it in there. And jeez, I wish Jules was here. Dang it! Oh my God. Okay, hang on just a sec.
Anyway, good.
Jules, where are you? Dang. Yes. All right, we're gonna bring Brandon in here in a second. Here, let me go ahead and talk.
Okay. Let's see what else was out there.
Getting off of that subject I was just on. So this is pretty cool. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this it's off topic, but hundreds of birds poisoned and killed at Bush Airport. These birds, these pigeons, this Beck came on and said it was so horrible. I mean, I almost wanted to cry watching it. There's more humane ways to take care of this problem, but some of the birds were flopping around and took like an hour or more to die. Hundreds of them. And they say they do this once a year, but I've never heard of it before. And it's this poison that they use. Just, because the birds, I could see they can be a danger to the planes, but I don't know. It's just, like you say, people that hurt animals, and have no compassion at all. That's a danger sign to me too, about how people,
Dude, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 Brandon Turbovilles in here, dude.
Oh,
and I just said it on air. Oh shit, my bad. My bad. Whatever. All right.
Okay, well, I asked him which city. So yeah. We're gonna keep trying to get him on.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. This is like a total bomb for me.
I got my other computer up, so I was trying to find another story that I had up, but it got closed. Going along with what he wants. He's in. Oh, wait, here. Okay, I'll type it in.
All right.
Okay, there. That's where he's from. Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Vince just helped me out. Thanks, Vince.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Vince.
And there, I didn't go in.
All right, let's see. Okay.
There you go. That's it. I gave you the info on his. So if you put that one in, you'll have them. Anyway, it said the black box was sent to Moscow for investigation. Okay, MH17 black box sent to Moscow for investigation. A Malaysian Boeing 777 carrying 295 people on board was shot down Thursday by a surface-to-air missile outside the mining town of, Shakhtarsk, I think, in eastern Ukraine, an area controlled by rebels. Ukrainian, Russian, and pro-Russian rebel officials all confirmed that the missile had taken down the plane. It fell from a height of more than 10,600 meters. Everyone on board, including dozens of children, 15 members of the crew died in the catastrophe. Wow. Pieces of the plane, humane remains, passports, and money were spread in a radius of 10 miles around the catastrophe in the region of Grabovio and, I hate these names, Raspinya. Experts from the Russian Ministry of Emergency Affairs and witnesses reported during the first few hours of rescue operation, rebel militia discovered remains of more than 100 people. There were no Russian citizens among the victims. The black box from the airplane traveled to Moscow for investigation, Russian radio station Kommersant FM reported. Who hit the Malaysian airplane that was flying so high over Ukraine? All sides agreed that it was brought down by a Buk, B-U-K. Wait. Okay.
You there? Sorry? Uh-oh. Are we on? Oh, boy. Uh-oh. Hello?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, we're here. Brandon?
I don't see Brandon on there.
I just heard him.
Did you?
Yeah. Okay.
This is a cluster F. I'm sorry, Brandon. Jeez. This ain't good. I'm trying to add you in. It won't let me add you in. It just says add phone number. That's all it says when I try to add you in. Let's see. No. I don't know, guys. Sorry. I wish Jules was here. Oh, no. This would not be happening if Jules was here. Oh, man. I cannot add you for the life of me. Wait, let me try this. Nope. It's not letting me add you. This is not good. I do not know what to do. Perhaps, okay, everybody can hear me, right? I got those contacts, Vince. I'm totally hooked up to Brandon, but when I put, oh, yeah, let's see. Oh man, fuck, it totally knocked me off here. God dang. Oh, am I still on, guys? It shows that I'm on. Somebody in the chat room, like, tell me if I'm on. Yes, we hear you. Thank you. I'm gonna try and get Dodie back. There's that. It worked for her. So why is this not working for Brandon? I mean, it should be, okay. There's Dodie there. It should be working for you. Now I'm going to go down here and click on Brandon, right? And it should absolutely work for him. And it says, all it says is add phone number.
Okay. I would, well, that would be answering, I would think.
Yes, we hear you. Thank you. Okay, can you turn that other sound off?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Echoed. Okay, there. Okay.
It worked for Zori. Why is it not working for Brandon? This doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. It worked perfectly just now for you, and when I click add to his group call, it says add phone number. So I mean, what the hell? It doesn't make any sense. Every time I click it just says add phone number, and it won't.
Maybe he should try calling in.
Yeah, that's what knocked me off air.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess I wasn't off air, but it knocked you out, or somebody. It knocked somebody out.
Yeah, I got knocked out.
Dang. Where's Jules when you need her?
Okay, well, you try and figure that out, and I'll go on with this article then.
Sorry, Brandon. I think we're kind of dead in the water here, getting Brandon on.
Okay.
Oh, well, Vince says add him. I don't know. I don't know what good that's gonna do. I wish Jules was here so I could add her, and then she'd be able to figure it out. Let's see.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go on with this article, and you try and.
Okay.
Okay. All three sides of the conflict, pro-Russian rebels and Ukraine forces have BUK systems. Moscow-based military expert Alexander Goltz told the Daily Beast in an interview the Ukrainian army could shoot at an airplane thinking it was Russian intelligence flying over their territory. Pro-Russian rebels could bring down a plane as they have done previously several times, including a Ukrainian cargo plane they shot down at over 6,000 meters above the ground. Goltz also noted that according to Interfax reports, pro-Russian rebels recently took control of military base 24-02 in Donetsk. That base had Buck missile systems. If they saw a plane on the radars, they could very well fire at it, but of course one needs to know how to operate the Busk system, Goltz added. Earlier on Wednesday, the defense minister of the self-proclaimed Republic of Donetsk, Igor Strelkov, published a post on Facebook that he later deleted. Just now, AN-26 airline was shot down outside Terez. We have warned them about our sky. Russian human rights activist Alexander Cherkskov saved the screenshot of the post and provided it to the Daily Beast. Accounts given by rebel commanders were full of contradictions. Alexander Boroday, Prime Minister of Donetsk Republic, denied having a single buck and added, unfortunately, the rebel official insisted on radio Komersat FM that the Malaysian plane was brought down by Ukrainian missile systems. He said preliminary investigation showed that the airline had been shot down. It is obvious. The plane crashed practically on the front line. You need to understand that. We only have artillery that can hit a target at 2,500 meters. The pro-Russian separatists and their allies inside Russia have become discriminate with some of their heavy weapons earlier this week. Residents of Russian town Gukov took videos of several Grad rocket systems launching constant fire from a place that looked to local eyes like the, I hate these names, Stepnaya mine in the Rostov region in the direction of, Biryukovo village across the Ukrainian border. Ukrainian border unit commanders also claimed they had been fired on by a Grad in Biryukov and Sverdlovsk in the Luhansk region. Oh boy, I have so much trouble trying to say these words. A Grad is a multiple rocket launcher designed to devastate a defined but extensive area. Is it becoming the weapon of tomorrow in Ukraine? Russian officials' position is still to deny any involvement in the military action in the eastern regions of Ukraine. So, it's like a big hoo-hoo. Everybody's accusing everybody of doing it. So who knows?
Right. I mean, well, that's the whole premise behind all of it, because you got to be pointing fingers. You gotta blame both sides for the conflict, and this is the Hegelian way of being for these upper echelon elitists. You know what I mean? They get everybody to fight each other when they are supporting both sides in the first place. So that's how it works.
I'm surprised they haven't brought us into it, saying that we did it. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. We may never know. Just like the missing airplane that's never been found.
Привет, comrades. Good morning.
Hi.
That's Anya.
Hi, Vince.
I will now attempt to bring in Brandon Turbeville to tell us about what's going on in Russia.
Oh, very good.
So,
that was creepy, dude. That was creepy as hell, dude. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, now.
Let me try to add Brandon. Now,
Okay.
if this goes screwy and hangs up, is what I'm doing here is.
How do I?
If you have the Skype,
he said to click on the icon and drag him in. So.
Or there's a X down there, where the volume, the camera, where you can X all that. There's an X right there, a plus sign. If you click there, then it'll pop up, type Brandon's name in right there, and then add to call. So I'm going to try that. It's given me the option, but Skype's been so screwy. Let's see what happens if I knock this off.
We'll be right
if you
back.
want, I can open up and continue hosting and bring you two back in, and then try to bring Brandon if you want.
Well, I'm the one that's hosting, so don't I have to do that?
Well,
Yeah. We would both have to hang up, and then he can call the radio station and then bring us in.
What?
I can do that if you'd like. If not, I can try to add Brandon right now, and if it knocks us off, I can either let you reopen or...
we let him host. Let him bring him in. We hang up just for a second, everybody.
Before we do that, I'm going to try to add him right now. If we knock off, then okay. If we get knocked off, then I'll open UCY and add you guys back in, okay?
Thanks, Vince.
You bet. Here we go. Stand by. Here comes Brandon, I think. And it looks like we do have Brandon coming in now.
It does.
Yes.
Yay. Yeah, I want to hear what he has to say about this, because... Okay.
And
it doesn't...
He may not be ready now. So, he's there, but not there.
Yeah.
And
on.
All right, I just tried to drag the icon into the radio thing here, too, and it just doesn't seem to be working.
Okay, now we got...
There he is!
Brandon?
Hey, are we on air?
Yes! Sorry about all that. Sorry about that, Brandon. I'm really totally embarrassed, dude. Thank you, Vince.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm going mute. Good morning, Brandon. Y'all take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Vince.
You're on, Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon. Thank you.
Yeah, it's no problem. It happens. In fact, it's been happening to me quite a bit this week. So I guess just one of those coincidences. But you guys were talking about the Malaysian flight earlier, I believe, that over Ukraine, correct?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes.
Well, I'm sure you're aware of this, but there's a number of questions about this flight that are pretty important, considering the fact that you've got Ukraine, which is the battleground that could ignite a third world war between Russia and the United States and NATO and so forth. And of course, one of these questions is, how did the plane get brought down to begin with? And everybody has kind of settled on these Buk missiles that obviously Russia has. It's a Russian-made missile system. The Western media is claiming that the rebels, the separatists, have the Buk missile systems, and we know for a fact that the Ukrainian government has Buk missile systems. So initially, when this plane went down, everyone was saying it was a shoulder-fired missile that brought the plane down, because we know the separatists have those missiles, and they brought a number of jet fighters down, and I think even some type of cargo planes at some point, and some helicopters they brought down with them. But they have what they're called the Igla missile system, and this is just a shoulder-fired missile. It cannot hit a plane flying at 33,000 feet. This is an interesting number, too, 33,000 feet.
Right.
But it can't hit these planes. It doesn't have the capability to hit planes flying at that altitude. So they settled on the idea that it has to be this type of medium-range missile system, and that is generally the Buk system. And there's a couple of other names for the Buk system, but that's the more popular one. And you see this narrative unfolding, right? As soon as the plane hits the ground, the Western narrative is that it's Russia or the separatists.
Right.
It can't be Ukraine. I mean, you had John McCain saying, if it was the Russians, this is a terrible act of international injustice. If it was the separatists, this is a crime against humanity. And no, not a word. What happens if it was the Ukrainian government? Not a word. It's not a possibility in the Western media that the Ukrainian government would have shot these planes down.
Right.
even though they clearly have the ability to do it. And if it can't be done with shoulder-fired missiles, the Ukrainian government would be on the hook for that, right? Now, I know there are reports coming out that the rebels do have access to Buke missile systems, and this may be true. I'm not going to say that it's not true, and these reports actually come from the Voice of Russia, which is sort of the Russian state media organization over there. And there was a single report, and I've linked to it in an article I've got coming out, and a lot of the mainstream outlets have linked to it because it's the only report. It's about 3 paragraphs long, 2 sentences each, and it basically says that on June 29th, the rebels took over a base, A1402 or something like that housed the Buke missile systems, and that they now have Buke missile systems in their possession. And it doesn't say that they know how to use them. It doesn't say that they've got 10 of them, they've got 4 of them, they've got 1 of them. It just says that they have Buke missile systems, and that's about as far as it goes. So what's interesting to point out is when the Russian media says the United States is funding Syrian death squads, the United States says, no, that's the Russian media. They're crazy. It's propaganda. They don't have any standards. When Russia says the United States is funding ISIS in Iraq, they say, no, the Russian media is corrupt, it's crazy, it doesn't have any standards. When a 3-paragraph article comes out and says that Donetsk rebels have captured a missile system in Ukraine, they say, see, this is absolute proof that the rebels have missile systems.
Right.
Yeah.
So, which is it?
Yes.
Direct conflict, yeah.
Now, since the American media in this instance has decided that the Russian press is infallible, I will respond with an article that came out by Itar TASS. Right, this is another big Russian media organization that says the Ukrainian military, which has Buke missile systems, moved many of its Buke missile systems to Donetsk on Wednesday, the day before the plane was shot down. So.
Wow.
Now, since we're taking the Russian media, as fact, what about that? Where's the response to that from John McCain and from the Western media? So
absolutely.
And who gave the orders to divert the plane?
Exactly. That's the other question. We have reports, and again, this is mainstream media. The Atlantic, I think, was the first. I was kind of surprised by that. The Atlantic was the first to put this information out. The FAA, the U.S. FAA, placed an order which prohibited American pilots, airlines, charter flights, pretty much anybody who can fly a plane from flying over those parts of Ukraine, and that was put in place 3 months ago. So it's highly unlikely that the rest of the aviation authorities didn't have those same flight bans. So you got to ask yourself the question, why was this plane flying over this area of Ukraine? What was it doing there? Flying civilian passengers over a war zone where planes have allegedly been shot down in the past by Russia, and of course we have some planes and stuff shot down by the Ukrainian rebels. So why would you fly a flight across there? This sounds an awful lot like the Lusitania to me, where you have the Germans begging the Americans and the British not to put these people out on a boat into the Atlantic Ocean in a war zone, and they even go so far as to put out announcements in the American press and hang up flyers at the docks saying, "Don't get on this ship. It could get sunk in the ocean because it's carrying weapons and so forth." And of course, they put the ship out in the ocean and it got sunk anyway, and they blamed the Germans. This is the same situation. You're flying a passenger jet full of civilians over a war zone, and then you're going to say, "Oh my God, they shot it down." Well, of course they did.
Mm-hmm. How hard would it be to find out who diverted that plane?
Well, that's there's some information that's come out about that. There is E-Turbo News, and this is sort of the global aviation news. They it's not really alternative media. It's just a website that's focused on aviation and airports and flights and that sort of thing. So you go on that website and see if the stocks have risen on Delta or that kind of stuff. And what they reported is that they received information from a source inside the Ukrainian air traffic controller offices in Kiev. And they said that one of the air traffic controllers found out that the Malaysian flight was being escorted, right, by 3 Ukrainian jets 3 minutes before it crashed. Now, as soon as it crashed, he says that the authorities came in, I guess his bosses, and confiscated all the records as soon as the plane crashed. But he also says that they were given orders to divert the flight.
Yeah,
right?
that doesn't surprise me. That was the assumptions that I was making earlier.
No, it says he actually says that there was some internal communication. That's what eTurbo News gets, is internal communication, and they have military chatter coming in and out with the aviation authorities, and they said that there was an order to shoot the plane down, but they don't know where the order came from.
Wow, could it be the same kind of order that allowed the first Malaysian Airlines to just disappear? Wow. You know what I mean? I mean, why are they 2 Malaysian Airlines?
Yeah, that's another question, too. Another Malaysian flight. So they have, again, these radar, they have screenshots of the radars, apparently, and it shows that there was a change of course on the Malaysian flight, that it actually wasn't supposed to fly over that area, but they don't know why that it changed course. But there apparently were shoot-down orders. But they just don't know where it's awful lot like 9/11, isn't it?
Yeah. And the black box gets sent off to Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got planes going radically off course with no explanation, and then we have shoot-down orders that nobody knows where they come from. It's like they're blending false flags through history. This is sort of a mix-up. So there are also reports that this whole situation, that this diversion of the flight and then the shooting it down, could have been this sort of attempt at a coup by Timoshenko, right? This is the gas princess who's sort of trying to, reassert herself as the prime minister of Ukraine. There's the current president is Poroshenko, that she's trying to get this plane diverted for the process of causing an international incident and weakening his presidency. I don't know how credible that is. That's really more speculation than anything else. I think if she wanted to seize power, all she'd have to do is just wait a year and let Poroshenko continue losing battles in eastern Ukraine, and then let the austerity set in, and I think she'd be fine. But I say all this to say we're talking about Butte missile systems, and do we even really have to go that far? Because maybe it wasn't Butte missile systems. Maybe it was a Ukrainian jet. And there's a number of possibilities for this. It appears that it definitely was shot down, right? They found bodies 10 miles away. So that is the indication of a shoot down. And so we have all that. And of course there are indications. There were reports from a journalist who was in Ukraine that said he spoke to the firefighters and there weren't any bodies around the crash site. And that actually could be possible, that there were no bodies near the crash site if it was shot down. So I think the fact that it was shot down is pretty clear. But you also have to look at the timing of the event as well, because this comes a day after the Ukrainian military claims that Russia shot down a Ukrainian jet fighter over Ukrainian territory. There's no evidence that this happened. Just the word of Kiev, right? Just the word of the Ukrainian military. There's no real actual evidence that Russia shot down any of those planes, and of course Russia is denying it. It also says that, just to go back a minute, there's no evidence that Russia shot down the plane, but there is documented evidence that the Ukrainian military has fired shells in the Donetsk region that has crossed the border into Russia and hit Russian villages on the Russian side of the border.
Whoa.
So, if Russia did shoot the jet down, I think that is, reasonable. You've received shelling for a number of days, and now you have Ukrainian jets flying over. You can't continue to tolerate a violation of your borders.
Right.
Now, this incident also comes a few days after the Western media has reported that the Russian government was considering targeted strikes inside Ukraine. It's funny, when any other country does that, it's the end of the world, right? We consider that every week for some country or another.
Right.
We're going to have targeted strikes. What's the answer to this diplomatic situation? Targeted strikes. But when the Russians do it, it's the end of the world and a violation of national sovereignty. Those reports, of course, were taken slightly out of context. Well, not really taken out of context. They were blown out of proportion because they were taken from a Russian politician who was a member of parliament, I believe, who said that he thinks that they should consider targeted strikes. That's kind of like taking John McCain's statement and saying that that's the position of the State Department. Now, it may be, but John McCain calls for war every day. So it's not exactly the official. Putin didn't say that they're considering targeted strikes. It was a member of the parliament. So people should realize how this stuff is taken slightly out of context. But I don't doubt for a second that Putin is considering targeted strikes. To be honest, if they continue to arm the separatists, which they are doing, and the separatists can hold out, and the austerity can take hold in western Ukraine, I think Putin understands that he can just bide his time for a while.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He can, at this point, all he should be doing is just kicking back. You know what I mean? And dealing with his own brand new bank that he's involved in.
Well, there's two other things that have occurred right around the time of this Malaysian incident. Well, three other things, really. One is it came just a couple hours after the U.S. issued a statement and announced that it had imposed another round of sanctions against Russia.
Right.
It came out almost exactly at the same time that Israel announced a ground invasion of Gaza.
Yes.
And it came out almost exactly the same time that the ISIS militants that we've funded in Iraq and Syria have once again reasserted themselves in Homs and taken control of some gas fields and some neighborhoods in Homs in Syria. So, this, on one hand, this Malaysian flight, this is the type of thing that can set off World War III. On the other hand, it's a very convenient thing to do when people are focusing on your genocide or your funding of terrorism. Then crash a plane. And
distraction.
And
they don't care how many they kill.
Yeah, planes always work. I mean, the 9/11, Operation Northwoods is something about a plane that gets people so excited. But
because so many innocent people get killed.
Yeah, because of the civilian deaths, I guess, and then and the first Malaysian flight. All these things were going on. First Malaysian flight that nobody paid attention to because some plane disappeared out in the ocean, and a similar number of passengers too on that flight. Interestingly enough,
that's weird.
So I think that's what we've got going on in Ukraine right now, and I think people should pay attention to it, but not pay attention to it so much. I mean, this is going to be a blip on the radar screen for a little while, but right now people are being slaughtered. And
look for the distraction. What are they trying to draw attention away from?
Right. So, it's important for us not to just get diverted into something else. So some topic like this. I mean, it's important, but it's not the only topic out there.
Sure. Right. Absolutely. I agree.
Like I say, they don't care how many, and when large amounts of innocent people die, it does. It just automatically brings out, everyone's emotions. And so that's one of the reasons I think they use airplanes.
Yeah, and that's what, again, remember back in the late 50s and early 60s, there was the plan of Operation Northwoods to remote control an airplane and then crash it down over the ocean and blame Cuba.
Exactly. It's not beyond that.
So, I mean, you got to wonder if, maybe something like that wasn't put in place because that's an old plan. That's 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, well, the old tricks work the best tricks in these guys' minds. You know what I mean? I mean, they're
because they keep getting away with it. People keep using the same scenario over and over.
Sure, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And remember too that back in the late 80s, that I think it was Netanyahu back then who stated that there was, the Chinese crisis was in the news, and he said that we should have used we made a mistake by not using the Chinese crisis to further our incursions into, what was, I forgot his direct words, but what was in then Palestine.
Right.
Into the areas of Palestine. So again, they never let a good crisis go to waste.
That's
and
right.
if you can stage a crisis, then even better.
That's absolutely right. And immortal
The
words of
massive confusion, like, no definite facts, just a lot of opinions or theories to do it. So,
well, it's the whole Hegelian thing. They're the ones that create the conflict, and they come up with the solutions. So this is what's happening right now in the Ukraine.
And keep in mind that the three of us and most of the listeners to this program are going to know that the story about the plane is BS. Our level of knowledge of the details may be different, but probably most of the listeners to this program are not listening to it and believing the mainstream media. But the average person,
yep.
In the mind of the average person, Russia shot down a civilian airliner in Ukraine, and half of the population
with Americans on board.
Yeah, with Americans on board, and half of the population is going to look at this as, if we don't respond, America looks weak. Because the most important thing in international diplomacy, of course, is swaggering around and making everybody think that you're tough. Right. I say that sarcastically because that's really ridiculous, but. Unfortunately, a lot of the population believes that that's the case, that you have to swagger around and wear your six guns on your side, or you're suddenly a weak nation if you don't start World War III. So this is all going to be used at some point to promote further tensions with Russia and ultimately a confrontation. But again, it's also a major distraction, because as Israel's invasion of Gaza gets more and more coverage on the news, it has to be pulled away, and I don't
think that the Obama's signing yesterday when the plane crashed, then suddenly he signs this executive order banning the Kalashnikov company. Banning of ammo, banning of the AK-47s and Segas. That was no coincidence that happened along with the plane crash. I mean, this is so staged. It's so transparent. A 5-year-old could figure this stuff out.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of why you don't buy foreign guns too, because whenever they do this, they ban this company. You think about how many people own AKs, the semi-auto AKs.
Yes.
And Russian weapons and Eastern European weapons. Think about how many people own those weapons that are not going to be able to get parts for them or ammo.
That's right.
So now they're useless. You fire them until you run out of ammo, and you can't go out and get any more. So, perfect example of why you don't buy guns that are subject to international destabilizations.
Yeah, I just read off Activist Post the Mark Salvo article. I read that whole thing, so that's exactly what he said too. And so this is I say that they pull the trigger on this whole thing. I think we're just going to see it ramp up and into the stratosphere here, and they're going to get what they've been wanting, the Brzezinskis and all that for all this time. I think they're pulling the trigger on it now.
Yeah, and remember, there's a lot of scholars who write about World War I, and there were, of course, all these international tensions because of the treaties and so forth, and the agreements that were engineered by British intelligence and Edward VII, I believe, and of course the related secret societies and intelligence agencies across Europe. So all these alignments and agreements were signed. And there were, of course, a number of tensions. And before the shooting of Ferdinand, before the assassination by the Black Hand and so forth, they refer to this time in history of about 3 or 4 months as having a dream-like quality. Right? All these tensions exist, but it's not really real for anybody because we've come to the brink so many times, and it just hasn't happened, and it's probably not going to ever happen. And then we have the assassination, and then we have is really after the assassination, there was still that dreamlike quality, right? For a few months, World War I didn't just start the next day.
Right.
And that's really when the dreamlike quality was in existence, because you had this major assassination and nothing happened right then. So in everybody's mind, it wasn't going to happen. And
it was over.
Yeah, it was over, and there would be another crisis, and it would be averted, or something bad would happen, but we wouldn't have a large-scale war because, we were civilized now, and that kind of thing doesn't happen. And then after a few months, we have the start of World War I, and millions of people were exterminated and killed.
Right.
But nobody saw it coming. The average person didn't see it coming. Now, obviously, the intelligence agencies did because they set it up. But
yeah.
So I mean, I say that to just to show how so many people can look at the news and see that we have these major diplomatic or international incidents, whether it's in Syria, in Iraq, in Ukraine, and they can get used to the fact that these types of things happen and they're averted. And generally speaking, they are averted. But there are times and there are places where they aren't averted, and we're not outside of history, and we're certainly no more civilized than really that we were, because we just developed bigger and better weapons to kill each other with.
Absolutely. In during the World War I times, that's when Lenin and Trotsky went in and got the Tsar out of Russia. Is that correct? Isn't that about the same time?
Yeah, it's around about the same time. And what's funny is that people, in this in 2014, it's become trendy to apologize for the Soviet Union for a lot of people. But we have the Tsar who was overthrown, and it was the Tsar's grandfather who liberated the serfs.
Yes.
And it wasn't Lenin, it wasn't Marx, and in fact, the Tsar who liberated the serfs back in the 1800s, there were 3 assassination attempts on him, and before one of them actually worked, he was assassinated and the son took over. But it was by the Narodnaya Volya, and this was the people's will. It was a secret society that was essentially socialist, Marxist, I don't know how Marxist you could say, but socialist, communist secret society that assassinated the Tsar. That's how he was repaid for liberating the serfs. And so you can see the genuine concern for working people that the communists had.
Absolutely. It's weird, and they're just kind of, you're kind of doing the same crap nowadays, even, they're doing all this stuff in the Middle East and taking out leaders just in the same fashion, and it's crazy. They just keep doing it and doing it and doing it.
Yeah, and this, you're right, this is not something new. I mean, we had Mazzini back in the, I guess late 1800s. Mazzini was the British intelligence operative. He was Italian, but he had British intelligence connections, and he went across the world setting up intelligence societies and secret societies called the Young Societies. That's where we get the name of the Young Turks. Right? We also had the Young Italians, the Young Russians, the Young Germans, and these were destabilization organizations. These were basically the National Endowment for Democracy or the Open Society Institute, National Democratic Institute. These were incubators for destabilizations, terrorist attacks, assassinations, and that sort of thing. So this is a well-known and well-studied and well-implemented system. It's been around for a long time. Whether it's color revolutions like what Mazzini did, mainly it was color revolutions with him, kind of blended in and out between color revolutions and assassinations, or whether or not it's death squads such as in Syria and Iraq, which again, as I mentioned before, I think when we talked last week, this was something that was created back in the late 1800s as well by the British intelligence, who actually set up the Muslim Brotherhood to combat nationalism. And they set up death squads to divide and conquer the Middle East.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's very important to realize...
Know your history.
Know the history, because you will be doomed to repeat it if you don't know it. And so we talk about it. We have to talk about it, make these connections back to the past, because they're pulling the same stuff over on us. Again, it's the same secret societies, just different names now. You know what I mean? It's basically the same people's relatives, because really with most of these secret societies, you're there by bloodline, because they're completely obsessed with bloodline, and it's wow, it's absolutely fantastical. It's almost like this stuff. You're right, like in a dream type haze type, dream world. I totally agree with that. It's
made to, like, the ones that do pay attention, like us, to give us so many things coming at us at once that makes it more difficult to, connect the right dots. I mean, you don't know which way to go, even if you do, see what they're up to.
Well, honestly, when I first heard about this plane yesterday, my very first thought was, oh, yeah, Ukrainian government, yeah, George Soros. You know what I mean? That was instantly what came into my head, because that's how I've deprogrammed and reprogrammed myself to do. And 9 out of 10 times, that's usually right. So...
Yeah, this is the thing about it makes people like us get ridiculed a lot, because we get accused of automatically assuming that there's a conspiracy. But the truth is, when you analyze events, you have to first of all, you don't go out looking for conspiracies, but you don't go out ignoring them where they exist either. Right? So if you study a situation and you see that there is a conspiracy, you don't look at it and say, "Oh, no, it's not a conspiracy because I don't believe in conspiracies." All right, that's idiotic. But you also have to look at the track record, and you have to look at history, and you have to say, is there a history or a track record of conspiracies? And clearly there is. And the history itself is virtually a conspiracy, right? So when you look at something, yeah, you do automatically have to assume that it follows the same track record in history that virtually all recorded history has followed.
Yes.
So yeah, that is the direction that you have to go to begin with. And if it shows that there's not some type of conspiracy, then you can chalk that up to natural events. But even Roosevelt said that nothing happens in politics by accident.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And he should know. He was the president for 3 terms.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right, and we all know how corrupt this government is. Most governments are all corrupt.
Yeah, this one's going beyond the pale of corruption, though.
It's becoming harder for them to hide it, and that's when you have things like the Soviets. Everybody knew the Soviets were corrupt. You didn't challenge the system, but you knew it was corrupt. And here, I guess maybe most Americans do know that it's corrupt. I don't think they know the level to which
the degree,
it's corrupt.
right? Yeah,
because they think that big business and bankers and stuff, they'll do bad things, but they're not going to stage terror attacks. They're not going to start wars. Because I wouldn't stage a terror attack, and I wouldn't stage a war. So I might steal a little money, but I wouldn't do all that. So they assume that because they wouldn't do that, that
the government wouldn't.
Yeah, and that's the happy, pleasant fog that everybody exists in. And it's dangerous. It's definitely dangerous. Meanwhile, you got the Mexicans coming over the borders, and all the diseases come along with that, and it's all coming down at once at the same time, and that's not by accident either.
What are they trying to distract us from what went on over there, or from what's going on here, or both?
Well, it could be a number of those things, because what we get is information overload, right? We chase the plane, we chase the genocide in Gaza and Syria and Iraq, we chase World War III in Ukraine, we chase the immigrants coming in over the border. And the truth of the matter is, we don't really ever do anything about any of those things.
That's right.
We debunk them as best we can. We freak out. We cause ourselves to die an early death of heart disease or stroke because we're constantly panicked over what the next big emergency is going to be, and nobody ever really does anything but freak out. And I think it's important for people to get out of this, panic mode and to start actually doing something. Like, you might not be able to chase everything, but you can get out and you can target the ruling class where you can hurt them the most. And
well, a lot of people are doing something about the border, though. I'm amazed at how many are responding to that problem. In fact, there's a big protest going across the country. I think it's later on today. I was going to look into it and go out. I think we're having a protest here about it. But, making more and more people aware. But there are a lot of people going down to the border, and like in Murrieta, they turn the buses around. So people are starting to get involved instead of just talking. I would be careful about some of those people who are leading those protests, though, and that's all I'll say about that on air. But I'd be careful about some of them.
That's right.
Yeah, you always got to be aware of things, but there are people that are doing the right thing, and you have to give them credit for it. Like the militia going down and no matter what they say, they're going to protect the border.
Well, I don't know.
Well, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what you meant, Brandon. Absolutely.
But some of them are there for the right reasons.
Some of them are for the right reasons, but now it is, and I've said this over and over again, it has been infiltrated and compromised all over the place in as far as militias go, believe me. Believe me. I've been through it.
I guess I'm just one of those that has faith, and there are people out there doing the right things for the right reasons. I'm sure we're we have enemies everywhere infiltrating on us on a daily basis, but we are still good and we're still trying to do the right thing. And I have to believe a lot of people down there are there for the right reason. I hope.
Well, I'm sure that there are a lot of good people who are involved in these protests, but you look at things, whether it's the immigration issue, the Bundy stuff, the Occupy, the Tea Party, all of this stuff has had a lot of good people involved with it, and they meant really well, and a lot of them were were even pretty educated as to what was going on in the world. But you got to look at what the results of those things were, and
right.
You look at Occupy, and the result was nothing. Mm-hmm. And you look at the Tea Party, and that was becoming a wing of the Republican Party, an even more radicalized wing of the Republican Party.
But not all Tea Party, like our Tea Party here was never, was not taken over. And I go to the meetings, I can testify to that. But then what is the alternative? Just to sit back and talk about it, it's really, I don't know, gut feelings you go by, I don't know.
Well, I think you got to use your gut feeling whenever you get involved with other people. But no, definitely not sit back. You got to get active, but at the same time, you can't let yourself get diverted, right? And that's what I've been working really hard on as of late is to help develop a system that is going to attack the ruling class and really make them take a step back. While at the same time, and not listen
to propaganda. Like I said, our Tea Party here was never taken over by Republicans or anything. We still stand with no, affiliation to any except for independents. But, people hear about it being taken over, and so they don't go to the meetings. And so they're missing out on the ones that did not get taken over. We do a lot of good things here, and it isn't like Republican or Democrat. So, gut feeling has a lot to do with it. And if you see, your organization being taken over, step up. I guess that's all you could do, really. But you shouldn't let what other people say make your decision for you. Go find out. That's what I always say. Go visit your Tea Party and see if they are still doing the right thing.
I agree with you, Brandon. I think that the focus needs to be on, the people creating this stuff and allowing it to happen, and we have to focus on that. I think I agree with you.
Well, once you find out what who and what is directing these type of things, then now you see your target, right? And you go back to, it's not just secret societies, it's not just banks, it's amalgamation of the groups, mm-hmm. And that's why you got to focus on these groups, and that's why you got to do something that makes a difference. Now, again, I'll go back to Occupy for one thing. And Occupy, their answer to everything was to camp out in the park and say nasty things about Wall Street. It accomplished nothing. Now, the original Tea Party, the Ron Paul groups and stuff like that, the
yes.
Liberty people and stuff, that got taken over by the Glenn Becks and stuff like that, overwhelmingly. Mm-hmm. Might be a group here or there that's not, and like there's a group of Occupy here and there that's not taken over, but they're crying in the wilderness right now. And you get the Glenn Beck guys running out and trying to erase the minimum wage and that sort of thing, which Wall Street loves. And you get these groups that they take a lot of good people with a lot of good energy and a lot of heart and courage to go out and fight for the ruling class. And we've got to be smarter than that, because you've got to have an idea of what you want and what you want to demand. And you've got to not waver from that. When other people come in and say, oh, I think we can get this, or I think we could do it this way, or oh, we want a leaderless revolution, or something crazy like that, you've got to stand firm and say, no, this is what we're going to do about it.
Right. I think that was true with the Bundy thing, with the whole Bundy Ranch thing. I mean, it was about the Bundys or whatever, but inadvertently, when the call went out for everybody to come and help and, call out for militia and blah, 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 I think inadvertently it ended up helping the elite accomplish their little goal on that whole thing. And that, I totally see that very clearly.
Yeah, Bundy didn't even have a case, but a lot of the militias and stuff. And I don't know all of the militias that showed up. I'm sure there were maybe there was a few that were good, but these federal militias, the ones that are national militias. Mm-hmm. As far as I can understand, most of these guys are feds.
Yes.
And the cross-border militias, that could work. But from what I understand, the groups that are sort of nationally based, we're the American militia or we're the federal militia and stuff. Well, they're federal. They're federal agents, yeah. And it sucks up a lot of people who really want to be involved in patriotic militia stuff into the federal agents, and so they co-opt other militias. They can fool a lot of good people, and they go out to these protests and organize these strange situations down there, and they get a lot of good people caught up with it, and they pay the price.
Yeah, it's a honeypot spiderweb situation, and that's what the Bundy Ranch thing was, and that's what this border thing. I know it. I mean, I just know it in my heart because I've seen it personally here in Michigan. With the upper echelons of the state militias, and I've seen it personally firsthand myself, and I've stepped away from all that now. I don't really want to be part of a group anymore because of that, and I just want to focus on these people that are doing all these things in the first place, and that is what I constantly repeat over and over again, because this is what we're fighting in reality.
Yeah, and that's why they did it. That's why they infiltrated like that, because they knew if they could get everybody, if they could infiltrate with so many agents and get everybody worried that the next person is going to be a Fed, then eventually the groups are just going to disintegrate because it's too dangerous to be a part of it.
Right,
but
and that's what's happening.
You can't do anything alone. So,
well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, we're talking here right now, and Brandon's doing well-researched articles on Activist Post. I mean, he is getting attacked, via electronic communications. I mean, he's got to be over the target. When you start getting, like, these attacks, you got to be doing something right. You're
right, but divided, we won't get anything physically done.
Well, I agree with you there, Zori. I agree that, we can't all just, go out and do it alone, because we've got to we've got to connect with other people and pool our resources here, because there's a very few at the top, and there's a very few at the bottom that are trying to vie for control and vie for power, and a whole lot of people in the middle who will do whatever they're told and who don't know and have their resources used as enforcers. So you're right, we've got to join forces with each other. I think the only thing is that people can't make you do something illegal or immoral if you don't let them.
Right.
And so whenever you do join a group, and I'm not telling people to go out and join every group in the world, and I'm not telling people to not join any groups. I'm just saying that when you join a group, you've got to have an idea of where this thing is going, of what your principles are, what your demands are, and when it starts to waver.
Right, and you should be able to recognize those ones that are infiltrating, that are going against what you're standing for. Therefore, right away,
But Zori, sometimes it's not so obvious.
Well, I know that.
Honestly,
they're real
sometimes
good at what they do.
They are, and we got fooled. The Hutari got fooled. We got fooled for 2 freaking years.
But that's something that we gotta face. But you can't not, like he said, we can't not join forces with other people. But we just have to be constantly aware and watching for red flags, and don't let them, slide by as, oh, well, maybe that's nothing. But you have to unite. I mean, we cannot do it individually. There's no way. You have to physically get involved, and like I said before, your gut, use your gut feelings, don't ignore them, but, there's no other way. I mean, I can't go out and do it alone. You can't go out and do it alone. We have connections here with us all on this network, and I believe most of us are here for the right reasons, but I still believe there's more good people in the world than there are bad, and when it comes down to it, I'm hopeful that we'll do the right thing, but we can't do it individually.
Yeah, I mean, there are things you can do individually, but there are things that you can't do individually, and we can change. For instance, I hear a lot of people, a lot of anarchists come out and say, just be the change, just change yourself, and change where you shop and stuff like that. But there's never been a revolution that's ever been won because a guy bought something at a different store than he did before, and there's never been a revolution because somebody sat down cross-legged and meditated.
Right.
Those things are important to do. Spiritually or financially, to change where you shop, just to be one more person who's not giving money to the machine or supporting the machine. But you've also got to get a group involved. You've also got to get the masses of people involved to drag this system down and replace it with the one that we want to see. And again, you got to have demands when you do this. You can't just do, I
have a plan in mind.
You have to have demands. You can't have the Republican Tea Party or the George Soros Occupy, the anarchist stuff where you just you have no demands, you just want to throw a fit. None of that works. It all works for Wall Street.
They didn't have a real goal. They were just protesting everything.
Yeah, if you're going to go out and throw a fit and say, we don't like it, we don't like it, we don't like it, then you might as well stay home.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't do anything but gnarl up traffic.
Yeah, Yep, absolutely. So I don't know, Brandon, what do you think the solutions are to stop making this stuff roll back? I mean, we've got history that's on their side, long, deep, embedded, rooted history. How do we strike at the roots?
Well, the idea is that, again, as I said, doing stuff individually is great. Doing stuff spiritually is great. But in terms of groups, you have to have demands, and funny enough, I have some. And we have things like for instance, the average person. I know we're running out of time here, but the average person doesn't really understand things fully. Who's controlling their society, or how deep these levels go. And I'm sorry, you're just not ever going to get the overwhelming majority of people to understand that. 9/11, you can't get people to understand. I mean, look at all the education you have to do with the environment, whether it's war. I mean, most people really don't care if we fight war so long as they're not bothered personally. So you're not going to get them involved on that. You can only get them involved, generally, when something involves them personally.
When the war comes home, yeah.
When their pocketbook, generally, is affected. That's when people start to get excited, when they can't feed themselves or can't entertain themselves like they want to do when their job and their money runs out. So you can get people, popular movements together based on populism, right? What affects the populace. And those are things like the austerity issues, whether we're cutting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and food stamps, unemployment insurance in the middle of a depression. Those things shouldn't be cut anyway, but especially in the middle of a depression. You're talking about industry going overseas. We have like 25% unemployment now in the United States. These are things that people get excited about. Remember Bill Clinton with "It's the economy, stupid"? That's the true thing that he ever said. It is the economy, right? And that's what people really get interested in. That's what really is what brings people out into the streets and gets people motivated. So you get some demands, which I've written about on numerous occasions and talked about on my own show here on UCY, which is 1% Wall Street sales tax. Very simple, right? This is a demand. This is be-all, end-all solution, but it's a demand. This is something that could get a win in our column. That would bring in tens of trillions of dollars of revenue. There is no budget deficit. There is no need to cut all of these social programs for the elderly, the infirm, and the unemployed, and so forth. Nationalize the Federal Reserve, not end it. You nationalize it. We have credit-creating power in the Fed. We can take buy up state bonds and issue credit stimulus to rebuild the infrastructure all across the country, and it's not debt-based money.
Wow.
Right? This is credit-created stimulus, not printing money, not borrowing from private banks at interest. This is credit stimulus. You can rebuild infrastructure, all right? And you can also impose tariffs. We want a 15% tariff on goods coming in from overseas. So, yes, businesses can go overseas and build a business and hire people at slave labor wages, but when they come over here, you're going to get taxed through the nose, so it's going to be unprofitable to do it. So
right.
Didn't we just read, there was an article, I think Jules read it yesterday, about the World Court saying that tariffs were illegal, or that United States shouldn't be imposing tariffs.
Yeah, that's the World Trade Organization.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to say that.
Interdependent, and they say that you can't have tariffs because that's unfair trade. Well, the answer to that is you impose the tariff and you go tell the WTO to jump in the lake.
That's right.
We are the biggest economy on the face of the earth. What are you going to do about it?
That's right.
You're not going to do anything. And this is the things that will get people, again, this is telling people that no, you're not going to have to go hungry. No, you're not going to lose your house. No, you're not going to go unemployed for the rest of your life. We're going to bring these things back at high wages, right? Bring back the high wage.
This is the thing that they will wake up to. You're 100% right.
You don't have to do, years worth of research as you would for 9/11 or chemtrails, for instance. You don't have to I'm not research, but education. You don't have to sit somebody down and break it to them easy. You can tell them, look, this is your food, this is your job, and this is how you fix it, and this is how you get populist activism going. And once you do that, you get a win in your column, and then the sky's the limit. When people see that they can have a victory and that their activism and that their energy actually produces real results, well, then you're on the road to
right. We have a chance of winning.
That's awesome, Brandon. You totally answered my question. That is an awesome list of demands. Those we should all adopt that. Seriously, because that's something that could work, and that's tangible.
Well, for instance, and again, there's a number of ways to do this.
How do you make government agree to it?
Well, they're not going to agree to it of their own free will, and that requires us, again, to get active. But you can't get active and say, we don't like the economy, but we don't know what to do about it. You say, this is what we demand, right? Because there's a clear demand, and if you start pressuring through a number of different ways, then even as a token, they're going to have to give you something to show you.
Right. If they go against it, then it's going to show the people that what they're really about.
Right. That's the thing. If they oppose it, then you force them to come out in the open and oppose it. And then everybody goes, well, wait a minute. Who are they working for? And, there's a number of ways to do it. Again, there's, the things you can do individually, but there's things as groups. And for instance, there's a group called the Tax Wall Street Party. I don't know if you've heard about it. I've talked about them on my show.
I've heard of them.
TaxWallStreetParty.org. They're actually running a Senate candidate in Nebraska right now who has these demands, and he's pro-gun. He's danfornebraska.com, and he's running down there, for instance, and they're trying to not only run through the electoral system, but they're also in the process of doing that. They are educating people about these demands, right? Just the idea of running a candidate, somebody who has to meet like 6,000 people just to get on the ballot, has to tell these 6,000 people that we want a 1% Wall Street sales tax, a nationalized Federal Reserve, and 15% tariff. And these people learn why, and they learn why they've been out of work for the last 10 years off and on, and why the job that they had pays them minimum wage. And they learn this stuff, and it becomes so clear. For instance, when you realize that Wall Street pays no tax,
and people are open for these things right now because they are desolate.
That's right.
We're running out of time, you guys. Your show's coming on at 9 p.m. Tonight, then, right?
Yeah, it's the interview with Dr. Gabriel Batarse. He's the Palestinian man who lived there before the Israelis created their state. So it's going to be a good interview. It sounds not that good, but just listen hard, and you'll.
I did. Thanks for coming on, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon. You are awesome and amazing. I heard half of that interview on Tuesday, and I was totally blown away. So you did a fantastic job on that.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for having me on this morning.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad we were able to get you finally. now I kind of know how to do it. So it was kind of my big fault today. But and Jules is going to be bummed that she missed you.
Well, all right, guys, we'll do this again, and I'll let you close out the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for all your insight. You're well researched, and you totally rock, dude. I've got a lot of respect for you.
All right. Thanks. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye. Perfect timing, guys.
Thanks for hanging.
Thanks, Dory. And thank all the listeners. Thanks everybody in the chat room. Listen to Brandon's replay tonight, and right after Boiler Room Radio with Jimmy, and the rest of the UCY programming. Have a good weekend, everyone.